Alright, hey y'all, I'm here. I am going to be reviewing The Real Housewives of New York. I have never reviewed this show before, but I have watched every single season, so I am very aware of who everybody is. So yeah, I'm definitely, of course, reviewing the season because my girl Ebony is on there, okay? That's my boo. I love Ebony. Like, if there is somebody that, like, no lie, I really don't, like, look up to a whole lot of people. I don't aspire to be a lot of people, but Ebony is top tier for me. Like Leah says, she is literally the epitome of black girl magic, and I stand for her so much. I loved her when she was on State of the Culture with her, Joe Button, Jinx, Remy Ma. I love her commentary. She's a beautiful lawyer. Like I want to be her. Like that's it. Like I just love her so much. So let's get into it. All right. So the Real Housewives of New York. Now, as y'all know, last season we had our girl Leah was introduced. I love Leah on this show because it just brings freshness. It brought a sense of freshness and realism to this damn show because we're talking about really rich white women that live in like the Upper East Side. I am from New York originally, so I know how that. Now, granted, I've never in my life hung out with anybody on the Upper East Side because nobody I know got that much money. But I know the whole allure and the whole thing behind that. So yeah, I really like Leah on here, and I like Ebony as an addict castmate too. I think, like I said, they bring a sense of like realism to like the world that the rest of these girls, women live in. Cause sorry, they old. I ain't trying to be funny, and that's another thing too. The other reason why I love the Real Housewives of New York is because like no shade, no shade. But they are old, but they're like very lively. Like they're older, lively as women. Like they're always talking about sex all the time. I love how open they are. They do not care. They'll let you know that they fucking Joe, blow, smoke, and everybody in between. Or no, that's not my boyfriend. I'm just getting my rocks off. I live. I really do. So let's get into it. So you know how we go through of seeing everybody, blah, 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 see what everybody's doing. So it shows like March 1st, 2020, New York bustling, regular New York. And then it shows, I think it skips to October. And you know, it ain't a soul outside. So let's get to it. So we go to Leah. Okay, Leah has a new apartment. As y'all know, last season it was a big deal. Everybody's making a big deal about Leah's apartment and how small it was and all of this other stuff. But Leah was living like an ordinary New Yorker. That ordinary New Yorker does not have, and I'll even get to everybody else's size of their apartments. New Yorker does not have a huge crib. You have a something real small, quaint to yourself. Okay. But she got a new apartment. I think she lives in Tribeca now because that's where Ebony lives. And she said they live in the same neighborhood. And her thing is that she is going to be converting to Judaism. Okay. So that's what she's working on so far this season. Then we got Ramona. She goes over to go see Luann or whatever. Now, okay. Ramona thoroughly and truly gets on my everlasting nerves. Like, she is like, oh my God. She's not, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, Ramona's fun, but she's very like annoying, and a lot of times, no shade, I be feeling like Ramona's on something. Like the last reunion, because I seen a reunion when it happened like before, but I watched a reunion like leading up, to a new episode, and it's like Ramona seemed like she was on something. Like she always seems like she is on like just a myriad of drugs. I'm not saying that she is. I'm saying her behavior comes off like she is on a myriad of drugs. It's very erratic and it's very like it's a lot for me sometimes. Ramona is a lot. So she goes to go see Luann. Luann moved into her apartment. I think it was really nice. And you know the crazy part about it? As nice as Luann's apartment is, it's still small. And when I mean it's small, I mean compared to like the rest of the United States. I don't mean in terms of New York, but it always blows my mind the amount of money, which is why I no longer live in New York, and why my parents why almost everybody like on my father's side of the family no longer lives in New York, because the cost of living versus what you're gonna get is ridiculous. I bet you that Luann probably pays upwards of a couple. She gotta pay at least 3 stacks or more for that apartment. Got to, especially where she lives. It's probably at. Let me see. Actually, I'm gonna look it up right now. Average apartment cost in Upper East Side NYC. What's the average? Yeah, the medium home cost in the Upper East Side is 1,378,000. $1,378,300. So yeah, so she probably definitely, that probably cost her a couple mil. Like if if she owns that apartment and stuff. And the crazy part is, if you move outside of New York and you buy something for a couple mil, you can get a big ass fucking house. But whatever, it's the lure of living in New York City. It is what it is. So anyway, Ramona comes over, and because they live like 3 blocks away from each other, so they said that they're closer friends now. Lou talked about how throughout like this COVID, like there was a point in time where like she got so drunk, pretty much like blackout drunk, she couldn't remember how she got home, and how she's just at the point where she's like she can't drink anymore. Now y'all know this has always been a thing with Luann, with her drinking and stuff like that. And remember last season, she had stopped drinking, and then she was like, okay, maybe I can drink. I can just drink a little bit here and there. And she's realizing that she can. And from what I understand about like addiction and stuff like that, like being an alcoholic and stuff, is like there is no dibbling and dabbling in that. Like when you really have a problem with something, you really got to cut it off all turkey, because you don't have the ability to dibble and dab. If you did, you wouldn't be an addict. You know what I mean? So I feel for Luann, I really do, and I really hope that she's able to continue on her journey as far as like being sober. I really really do, because I like Luann a lot. I like Luann a whole lot more now than I did in the beginning when she was the Duchess, because just that grand whatever little grand, what is it? She thinks she's bigger than what she is type of situation. There we go. I can't even think of how to say it, of illusion, whatever the fuck it's called. Anyway, so the funny part about that is she said to Ramona, she was like, I want you to come here and stand here for 1 second. She was like, so the movers was moving in. And I'm like, okay, cool. She said, I look straight across, and it's her ex-fiance's terrace. I said, damn, that's kind of crazy. So at least like she said, when them lights is on, I ain't even gonna look, because you don't know what little bitty he got over there. Could you imagine you move into a new apartment and you so excited, and you look across the street and you see your ex banking somebody's back out? Girl, that'd be too much for me. But shout out to Luann. So then we get on to Leah and Ebony. Now y'all know normally like when somebody new comes on to the show, you have somebody kind of introduce them into. So Leah is going to be Ebony's connection, way into the group or whatever. So they meet up, and Leah gives us a little rundown on Ebony. She's a lawyer, she's a media personality, all of this other stuff. They live in like the same neighborhood and stuff. So they just have a nice little chat. Leah is hilarious. She talked about how the PETA guy, the PETA guy. She used to mess with this guy who owns all of these PETA shops around New York. And she says she sent him like a naked picture, but with like the PETA covering her vagina. And then he like meant to send it to a friend, but sent it back to her. And she was like, I mean, I know I should stop dealing with him, but like I still be talking to him. I'm like, oh my gosh. This is why I love Leah. She's just so real. Like she's so real. And Ebony's like, girl, no. Girl, no. And so then Ebony talks about how she just went out on this date. And I was a little bit confused. We'll get to the end, because I know that Ebony was engaged at one point in time. Now, granted, as much as I love Ebony, I don't follow like her every single move. Like I'm not following her on Instagram and stuff like that. But I do like admire her work and the things that she do. So we'll get on to the whole engagement thing later. But I was like, date? Girl, ain't you engaged though? Like from what I understand, you engaged. So let's keep going. So then we go over to Sonia, and Sonia's living her best life over there. I'm sorry, there was also a point in time where when Lou and Ramona was hanging out, they talked about how Sonia pretty much been like MIA, how they really haven't heard from her anything. So we go over to Sonia's house, and she chilling with her intern or whatever, and she's just saying that she's had a lot of time to be by herself. She had to move back into her old place because nobody was renting it and it wasn't being sold, so she had to move back in. She gets on FaceTime and she invites Leah to this brunch that she's gonna have, and Leah's like, hey, I'm gonna bring Ebony, I hope that's okay. She's like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. So then we go on and we move on to Ebony. So we get a little bit more about her. Her apartment is in Tribeca. It's beautiful. Like her apartment is so fucking beautiful. Like I said, she is a lawyer. She's a broadcaster. She does Revolt News. If y'all white people don't know what Revolt News is, Revolt is P. Diddy's channel, Sean Combs. It's his channel that he has. It's on cable. So she does the news for them. And like I said, she also did at one point in time State of the Culture, which was a show that was on Revolt, and it had Joe Budden, Ebony, Remy Ma, who is a rapper, and then Jinx, who is like I think he's like a contributor or something like that to a lot of things. He's like a media person too. But they don't do that show anymore, but they did for a little while. She was good on that. She talked about how at one point in time, she stopped being a lawyer because she felt like she had already she hit what she wanted to hit and it wasn't really her thing anymore. So she pretty much took all of the money that she had and she put it into her, trying to be a broadcaster, trying to be a media personality and things like that. I love how Ebony talked about how, because she talked about how she's pretty much getting a new house in Harlem. And I'm like, yes, Harlem. Bring the black people and the Spanish people back to Harlem, okay? The white people are trying to come in and try to make it, what did they call it? Soha or whatever? No, girl, it's Harlem. 125th Harlem. Yes, please, let's keep Harlem black and brown if we can, okay? So much culture there. But she talked about how her friend was like, yeah, I remember you tried to get a home before in Harlem. She was like, girl, I tried to get a home before in Harlem. I went to that bank. She said, I didn't check the FICO. They said, girl, your mama won't even give you a loan with this credit. Which is funny because I'm like, well, how was your credit, bad? You making a lot of money and stuff. But she explained, she was like, I was making a decent amount of money. But when I stopped practicing law, like I was putting my money into so many other things. I was like, all right, I'll get to this bill eventually. All right, I'm gonna get to that. She said that the repo man was on her ass looking for her car. She said, bitch, I have to park the car here. I have to park the car there. I have to park that. I'm like, yes, Ebony, please get on this show and be so real with us. Please be real with us. I love it. That's why I'm saying Ebony and Leah, they bring a sense of realism to the show. They really, really do. And I like it a lot. So that was funny to me. But she is going to get a brownstone in Harlem. If y'all don't know, brownstones are pretty much like, they're houses, pretty much. They're just not, I guess, what somebody would consider a typical house. But it's a house. My cousin, she has owned her brownstone in Brooklyn. She literally lives like 1 block away from the Barclays Center. She's owned her brownstone since before I was even born. And it's beautiful. Like, don't look at brownstones from the outside. Be like, oh no, they're beautiful and they're huge on the inside. That's why I always said, if I was to live in New York, I wouldn't do what like Luann and the rest of them girls do. Like, I wouldn't get an apartment. I would get a brownstone because that is gonna be worth the money. Trust and believe, a brownstone is worth the money. So then we get on to the brunch, okay? And it's funny because on their way there, first of all, Ebony looked amazing in that pink. That pink against her skin tone, she looked so damn good. She looked so damn good, okay? But her and Leah's in the car, and Ebony, she's trying to get a feel of the group. And she was like, well, have they ever really been, like around like somebody like me? And she was like, what, black people? The answer is probably no. She was like, no, that's not what I meant. But it's the facts of the matter. She's like, no. I don't think they've been around black people like that at all. And I'm pretty sure they haven't. If they have been around black people, it's not many. And they probably didn't have any real friendship or real conversation with them. It's probably in social circles like, hey, how you doing? Hi, bye. But hanging out with every day, having them in your circle, I highly doubt any of them girls have ever had a black girl in their group, in their friend group like that. So it was funny. So then we get there, we all, I say we because I'm technically part of the cast, right? So we all get there, whatever, and we having a good time. Not having a good time, but we go in there, we meet Sonya, say hey. Oh, Lord. Sonya is probably one of my favorite people on this show, but Lord knows she does the absolute most. Sis brought Ebony over to the fish pond and said, I'm not trying to be too PC or nothing, but I have like this color fish and that color fish, and I have all of these different color fishes, okay? And then Ebony was like, yeah, girl, and you body positive, like you being body inclusive too. I see a fat one, I see a skinny one. Ebony is like, I seen what she was trying to do, but girl, no, just no. Sonya, girl, don't do that again. Don't do that. And I was waiting for the moment for somebody to address the fact that she the only black girl, and of course let Sonya do it. But the way that she did it, I'm not gonna say it was offensive. It was just like, I don't know what to expect. Sonya is an older white woman. That's probably the best way that she know how to make the girl feel comfortable. I just found that funny. I'm personally not offended by it. It's just it's what we be talking about as black people when we talk about the little micro aggressions and stuff like that. Girl, I see what you're trying to do, but that was hilarious but unnecessary. But it was still funny. This woman said, look how inclusive I'm being with the fish. Hilarious. Fucking hilarious to me. So, then, all of the girls get there, whatever, and they're talking to Sonya, about what's going on. No, sorry, before the girls get there, they're talking about Sonya's fashion line. She did have a deal with Century 21, which is a pretty decent store. I don't know if they have it worldwide. Probably do, but whatever. It was a decent it's a nice little chain. But during the pandemic, they shut down all of these stores. So that means that her line will no longer be there because there will be no stores. Okay, so at this point, she's like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And Ebony, the lawyer, jumped out. And she was like, I mean, so what are you? How much of this business, she's like 54%. She's like, all right, so you an owner. Like, you control everything. She's like, so have you seen the books? And she was like, I mean, yeah, I seen the books a little bit. She was like, no. I'm telling you right now, girl. This your business. You won't have to look at the books, girl. You won't have to look at the books. You really gonna have to figure it out, okay? And she was like, well, thank you. She's like, Sonya was like, I got 35 lawyers, so give me some free legal advice. I'll take it. I said, I know that's right, Sonya. I know that's the fuck right. So then we kind of get on to Ebony's fiance, because remember I told y'all, like I said, I knew that she had a fiance. So she said at one point she did have a fiance, but they're no longer together. Ebony, what was you over there doing? She said that this man had 3 kids, 3 children, and she was help raising them kids pretty much. And then once the kids got older and stuff like that, and they got out of the house and all of this, they just realized that they didn't want the same thing. I'm like, Ebony, you out here raising people kids for them? Ebony, girl, no. Like, and so they talk about that for a little bit. And so then we have Lou and Ramona, they show up or whatever. And now, so Ebony had said in the car to Leah that she doesn't, like, she's not best friends or anything like that with Lou, but she kind of sort of knows her because they will kind of be like in the same social setting sometimes. So then it flashes over to, Ebony calling Lou and be like, what should I put on or whatever. So they kind of already know each other. So like Lou said, she's like, I'm not best friends with her or anything, but I do kind of sort of know her. I think she's a really sweet girl. So cool. So they kind of know each other. So then they all sit down or whatever. And this conversation kind of jumps all over the place because they're talking about guys. Now, Lou talks about the fact about how she has this little boy. You know Luann, she always got a boo thing. So she's talking about how she got some little boy that she met online or whatever, and she fucking around with him. And then they talked about how they was seeing, because Ramona was with like her ex-husband and and her child or whatever. Her child is grown as hell, as y'all know, but I think that's who they were they referring to her ex-husband when they said, I seen y'all around town like kissing or whatever the case may be. I think that's who they was talking about, but I'm not too sure. But whatever, Ramona's like, we're not together or nothing like that. And again, Ramona saying exactly what I said before, which is like, that's not my boyfriend, or like, that person's not my boyfriend. And there's like, what, y'all friends with benefits? She didn't answer the question, but the answer is yes, that is correct. Because Ramona fuck him and leave him. That's what Ramona do, okay? She will fuck him and she'll leave them. She ain't got time for no relationship. She was in a marriage for a long time, so she just out here doing her, and I'm not mad at it. Have at it, Ramona. Have fun. So they talk about that for a little bit, and then we get on to Ebony. Like I said, Ebony talks about the new guy that she's dealing with, how he is a minority owner in a football team. Now, I want to pause on this for a second. So Leah was like, oh, well, okay, well, you need to hook me up with maybe one of the football players. And she was like, no, girl, not a football player. You want the boss. You want the boss. Like, you don't want one of them players or whatever. And she was like, okay, all right. She's like, I mean, I guess. And they like, no, girl. Luann's like, no, you want to elevate higher. Now pause for the cause. Pause. I get what some women are getting at when they're like, no, you want to like get with the nigga like who's owning everything. I get that, but at the same time, you can't shit on the football players. They might not make as much money because remember, he's a minority owner. He ain't a full owner. And I mean, I get what she's saying. Like, he probably got more money and power, but so what? That doesn't mean that she can't meet a nice football player. I think that's kind of, I don't even know what word to use, but if she wanted to mess with a football player, let her mess with a football player. I don't really think that's a big deal. Leah got her own money, and I'm pretty sure a football player got just as much money, if not more than her. So I don't really think that should matter, but that's just my opinion. So then all of the girls, they get up except Lou and Leah. They stay at the table because she's like, I want you to stay here for a second. So Lou is just pretty much honest with Leah and tell her, I'm at the point where I really need to stop drinking, and I just wanted to know, not could you be my sponsor, but could you be my wingman? Because it's one thing, she's correct, it's one thing to not drink or anything when you're in your own controlled environment. So like, there is no alcohol around, there is no this, there is no that. It's one thing, but it's something different when you're hanging around people who's drinking. And y'all know the Real Housewives of New York, they get litty. Specifically, Sonya gets litty off the alcohol. Them hoes love to drink. Okay, so she's like, I just kind of need somebody here that's gonna have my back and just kind of help me. And Leah's like, of course, girl, I got you. I stopped drinking in March or whatever, and it's October now. So she was like, don't worry, I got you. So then they go inside or whatever. And Ramona, they all well, first of all, Lou and Ramona says to Sonya, you know, like, why you haven't really been contacting us or anything? She's like, well, I mean, I talked to Leah. She's like, but that's Leah. Leah's your old friend. We've been your best friends forever. Where you been at? Where you been? I thought it was funny. I don't really think they was coming for her. Because, see, me and my friends will do that to each other all the time. Like, we just had to do that to my friend. Shout out to my friend Jamila. She got herself a new boo, right? And then this bitch went MIA. Do you know how many times we had to go knock it? Hey, where you at? Where you been? We just seen her recently. We just seen my friend Jamila for another one of my friend's birthdays. And when we all came in, we was like, huh? Where you been, sis, huh? Somebody been in the cuts with the boo the whole time. Where you been? So I thought that was cute. I thought that was funny. So Ramona talks about, you know, I really like you, Ebony. You know, I really feel like we connect on a different level, whatever. And Leah's like, girl, you said the same thing to me, and look how that turned out. I said, Ebony's like, whoop. Ebony's gonna be me this whole season. Her facial expression, she's like, whoop, and I whoop. Yeah. So, at the end, you know, Luann talks about, you know, how they're going to go to the Hamptons and stuff like that. And, you know, of course, Ebony had to school them a little bit. I think she said about Sad Car, but she was like, you know, that was the first place that allowed black people to own waterfront property. And, of course, none of them white women knew that, because why would they? They shouldn't have to. I mean, they don't need to. It's not like, for them, I'm pretty sure it's not important. But anyway, so, you know, she was like, okay, yeah, she's like, you know, the Hamptons trips, we normally do it. And sometimes it'll go good, sometimes it doesn't. Y'all Hamptons trip never go good. Stop lying to that woman. When y'all go to the Hamptons, y'all go to the Berkshires, you know, when Dorinda was on here, them trips don't end up good. And then we flash forward and we see the different fights that's going to happen. So apparently, Ebony and Luann's going to get into it. Leah and Ramona are gonna get into it again. Bruh, the scenes for the rest of the season, I'm here for it, because Ebony's gonna get the girls together. She said, to be quite honest, I got more education than anybody at this table. I said, you better work, Ebony. Work, bitch. Work, bitch. I can't wait. And I knew for a fact that when I heard that Ebony was going to be on the show, I said, yo, her and Ramona's going to get into it, because Ramona is your classic, no shade, but she's a Trump supporter. She's a classic Trump supporter. So it's only but so much you can do with her. And I just know there was this one little scene, and it's like, she said something, and she was like, that's gaslighting. She's like, no, but you're gaslighting. Read her, Ebony. I'm here for it, y'all. I'll be back next week. I'm so excited, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, I'm so excited. I'm like, I know I've been like really missing, but there's just been a lot going on. Like I said, I'm in the middle of moving. I'm about to like start a new job. There's just a lot going on, but it's starting to come back on track now. It's starting to come back on track. So then, to be quite honest, really soon y'all won't even see this door anymore. Give this like I think I'm gonna move. I decided I'm gonna move like in August. So in like 2 months, y'all ain't gonna even see this door no more. It's gonna be something else. But thanks y'all for rocking with me. Tell me what y'all think in the comments. Do y'all think Ebony is a good fit? Or do y'all think, kind of like people were saying before, oh, y'all just adding her on because she's a black girl? And only black people answer that. If you white, don't answer this second question. Do you think that she is a good fit, or do you think she's only on here because she's black? Let's be real about that. Or it could be a little bit of both. It could be a little both. But y'all can comment, tell me what y'all think. I'm a boy.